Good evening and welcome to Experience Bar, where we're turning video games into cocktails. My name is Jack and I'll be your bartender this evening, as I show you how to make the only drink a plane crash survivor needs. The Cannibal Reviver from the forest. Let's get started. Cool, so for the Cannibal Reviver you will need a shaker filled with ice, and starting off with 1 ounce of gin. I am using Lighthouse gin for this. Follow that up with ½ an ounce of yellow chartreuse. No, it looks green, but it's yellow chartreuse in comparison to green chartreuse. ½ an ounce of lemon juice, ½ an ounce of sweet white vermouth. I'm using Dolan. And finally, 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Oh God, shot halfway across the set. Right, chuck your shaker top on and give it a bloody good shake. You've done that. Grab your vessel. I mean, you don't have to go quite so hard on the garnish, but this was a good opportunity to use those rubber skulls I got a little while back. And you're going to strain it on in through a fine strainer if you're using a cobbler like this. Now, personally, I don't really like a drink that doesn't go all the way to the top, so if you are in this kind of situation, feel free to just grab a couple of extra ice cubes and chuck them on in until it is at the level that you want. There we go. Shouldn't affect the dilution too much. Alternatively, use a smaller vessel. And there you have it. That is the Cannibal Reviver inspired by the forest. Cheers. I was actually an early access backer of the forest, but I can't actually play it anymore. Not because I'm disappointed with the final version that came out, more to do with the fact that I'm a complete wuss when it comes to horror games. I can just about get through Dead Space with the lights on and somebody else in the room and screaming into a pillow every so often. But with the forest, it reminds me a little bit too much of games like Subnautica, where you can, the first initial survival aspects, gathering basic resources, swimming around or exploring, it's pretty fun. And then as soon as you need to go somewhere dark and creepy and something jumps out at you, I'm instantly Alt F4 and I don't touch the game for months. It is instant brown trousers time, basically. I can enjoy the forest in other ways though, like making drinks around it that help steel me for the coming night. You can find alcohol in the forest, like Jeff Daniels or Yakov vodka being my favorites, but the only actual cocktails that you'll make in the game are Molotov cocktails. Pretty useful for fighting off cannibal hordes, but it's not exactly unique to the forest and not exactly something that you'd want to drink. Instead, designing a drink around there, I decided to go the other route. I either make a drink from the game or I make a drink inspired by the game. So I went a little bit more thematic with this one. Here's the journey, okay? So bear with me, all right? In the forest, you're dealing with a lot of damage to your health. You know, you've got to deal with food and shelter and temperature and all that usual survival stuff, not exactly unique. But you also have to be able to manage your health in combat against all of the cannibal mutants that are desperately trying to kill you. You run out of medicine or you run out of the herbal medicine later in the game, you're going to end up dead or hanging upside down somewhere in a cave. Not exactly conducive to survival. So I knew I wanted to make a drink that kind of felt a little bit medicinal to go with that theme. At the same time, I was playing with a set of drinks called Corpse Revivers, specifically the Corpse Reviver number 2, which is itself marketed, kind of, as a hangover cure, a kind of medicine, if you will. So I kind of smushed those two ideas together and I created a drink that had was a Corpse Reviver variant, but with a distinctly herbal character. We've swapped out the Cointreau for some yellow chartreuse, and we've swapped out the absinthe for some Peychaud's bitters instead. The Peychaud's bitters are a little bit softer in absinthe notes, still distinctly there, and the yellow chartreuse adds some more herbal notes, whereas the Cointreau goes for obviously fruitier notes. Funnily enough, both chartreuse and the Peychaud's bitters were both originally marketed as medicines as well, so kind of double thematic point there. Overall, you kind of get a drink that is very herbal in nature. It feels like it's doing you good as you drink it. Don't get me wrong, this is not like that kind of nasty medicine that you had to force down as a kid. This is a damn tasty drink, but you can definitely taste the herbs from the yellow chartreuse coming through very strongly. And I like to think that that is a good homage, let's say, to the forest and the importance of keeping your health up in that game. Quick note on gin choice though. I am using a Lighthouse gin, which is a New Zealand gin. The reason I'm using it is because of the distillation methods that they use. Ends up with a very, very clean tasting gin with a very long back end to it with lots of citrus flavors. You kind of don't want to go with a herbal gin for this drink because it ends up being almost too much of a medicinal flavor, so go with a cleaner gin. I recommend Lighthouse, but anything that you can find that you particularly like that is very clean tasting will work. But yeah, that's it. That's the Cannibal Reviver from the forest. Thank you so much for joining me. My name has been Jack. This has been Experience Bar. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like and subscribe, or head over to our socials for some extra stuff. Head over to our Patreon if you want to get some extra recipes you can't find anywhere else. And we're also producing new content every 2 weeks, so keep an eye out for us in your notifications. Hope to see you then, but until then, cheers.